back to Muscle in the Morning. I'm Dave Palumbo, and today is Friday, June 21st, 2019. And let's find out what's going on in the world of bodybuilding and fitness. I think one of the biggest challenges that athletes face when they retire early is trying to figure out what their next act is. But now that he's hanging around with former UFC middleweight champ Chris Weidman, maybe Flex Lewis finally found his next big gig. Recently, somebody caught Flex bumping elbows with a guy who is widely regarded as one of the pound-for-pound best on the planet out at Bev Francis Powerhouse Gym, where I'm sure the two probably had some talks about trying to revamp some of Chris's training protocols for his next fight camp. You know, Flex has been spending a lot of time with guys from the MMA world lately, which is pretty cool for a kid from Wales who's enjoying early retirement. And who knows, maybe one day Flex will decide to throw on a pair of gloves and jump into the octagon. Not likely. But he's already got the frame to dish out a mean ground and pound, that's for sure. Well, despite the fact that they're a raging dumpster fire, the Lakers still managed to overpay to get Anthony Davis out of New Orleans. So, if AD is looking for a good trainer in the downtown LA area, Jamie LeRoyce might be his guy. The classic physique standout is in the midst of having another strong improvement season, despite the fact that we have yet to hear about whether or not he's planning to compete this year. From what I understand, LeRoyce made some changes to his camp during the last offseason, so hopefully once he and his team figure out their next move, we'll get to see King LeRoyce back in action before the end of the season. If you're a women's physique fan, then this weekend you should be pretty excited, because we've got a few shows coming up on the docket that should have some solid competition all the way around. And one of the names I see keep coming up again is Alexis Sullivan, who's all set to throw down at the Atlantic Pro 24 hours from now. Sullivan and her team are coming in hot after a tough start to the season back at the Pittsburgh Pro last month. This is pretty close to the time last year when we saw Sullivan and her team start to pick up heading into her big win at the Chicago Pro. So if she pulls it all together again here, this might be the perfect tune-up show to help build some momentum heading into the fall. Alexis Sullivan isn't the only one trying to make some noise at the Atlantic Pro this weekend, though. A few guys in the office have been talking about rookie standout Sheryl Mears as being a dark horse top 3 threat here. Mears put together a really solid 7th place look in her pro debut a few weeks ago. And what I hear from people close to her team is that she's on pace to blow that look right out of the water this weekend. Even what we saw at the Power and Grace a few weeks ago, you can tell that Mears definitely had more juice left in the tank. And assuming what I've heard so far is true, Mears might be someone you want to keep an eye on once the judges start moving bodies around during prejudging. When you're building a team or filling out a roster, one of the big things you always want to keep in mind is looking at how all those pieces fit together to make the whole. But I'm telling you what, trying to figure out where guys like Courage Opara fit into the Classic Physique Olympia lineup this year is hard no matter which way you want to flip it. On one hand, you see a guy like Courage who clearly has all the talent in the world, having so much success already at this stage of his career. But on the other hand now, we have guys like Keon Pearson jumping into the mix, not to mention George Peterson as your reigning Arnold Classic champ. And all of a sudden, the picture seems a whole lot cloudier. This is going to be an interesting year in the division, and Courage is a guy who I can see 100 different scenarios for, depending on how this whole thing winds up shaking out. And that does it for yet another edition of Muscle in the Morning. I'm Dave Palumbo, reminding you to always be true to your passions, and make sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.